Every dollar you've ever earned showed up after you believed you could earn it. The sequence has always moved in one direction, and you've been reading it backwards your entire life. You've been chasing money as though it were the starting point, when it's always been the receipt. By the end of this, the way you relate to wealth will reorganize itself from the ground up. Charles Haanel published the Master Key System in 1912 as a 24-part correspondence course. Students received one lesson per week, and they were told, in no uncertain terms, to master each lesson before moving to the next. The reason was simple. Haanel understood that the principles he was teaching would collapse under their own weight if you tried to stack them on an unprepared mind. This was training in consciousness, delivered with the precision of an engineering manual. And the core thesis, the thread that runs through every single lesson, is this: wealth is a state of mind that precedes the arrival of money. Sit with that for a second. Your bank account is a mirror. It reflects a mental image you've been holding, consciously or otherwise, for years. Haanel uses a term that most readers skim past too quickly: the consciousness of supply. He distinguishes it sharply from the desire for supply. Wanting more money is common, practically universal. The consciousness of supply is something else entirely. It's the settled, internal knowing that what you need is already moving towards you. That the substance from which all material things are formed is infinite, omnipresent, and responsive to the quality of your thought. When you hold this awareness steadily, you stop grasping. And when you stop grasping, something shifts in how opportunities, people, and resources arrange themselves around you. But how do you move from wanting to knowing? That's where most people stall. Haanel's method is disciplined and almost frustratingly specific. In the early lessons, he asks students to sit still in a chair for 15 to 30 minutes. Just sit. Control the body. Then, over subsequent weeks, he introduces mental exercises, holding a single thought without wavering, visualizing an object until you can see it as clearly with your eyes closed as open, then directing thought toward a specific outcome with calm certainty. The progression matters. You can't hold the consciousness of supply if you can't hold a single thought for 5 minutes. The mind that jumps from fear to hope, to doubt to excitement, in the span of 30 seconds, is a mind that cancels its own orders. Think about your own inner dialogue around money. Really listen to it for a day. You'll catch yourself toggling between optimism and anxiety, sometimes within the same sentence. I think this could work, but what if it doesn't? That mental static is what Haanel is training you to resolve. The consciousness of supply has a texture to it, a steadiness, a quiet confidence that doesn't need external confirmation. You felt it in other areas of your life, the thing you were so certain about that you barely thought about it, and then it materialized almost without effort. You attributed it to luck. Haanel would tell you that was consciousness operating exactly as designed. The Master Key System rests on a specific metaphysical architecture. Haanel describes a universal mind, an infinite, intelligent substance that permeates everything. Your individual mind is an outlet for this universal mind, the same way a light bulb is an outlet for the electrical grid. The bulb doesn't generate electricity. It receives it and converts it into light. Your consciousness receives from the universal and converts it into the specific conditions of your life. Wealth, health, relationships, all of them are conversions. The quality of what you convert depends entirely on the clarity and consistency of your mental state. This is where the teaching gets uncomfortable for the modern reader. Because it implies something most people resist, your current financial situation is a printout of your dominant mental patterns. Every limitation you see in your bank account started as a limitation you accepted in your mind. Haanel is direct about this. He says that poverty is a disease of the mind and that the cure begins with a new pattern of thought held long enough to become habitual. Now, a fair question rises here. Plenty of people think positively and still struggle. Plenty of people visualize abundance and wake up to the same bills. Haanel addresses this, and his answer reveals the depth behind the system. Thinking positively on the surface while holding deep unconscious beliefs about scarcity is like planting seeds in poisoned soil. The surface thought has no roots. The consciousness of supply requires more than affirmation. It requires the slow, patient replacement of your deepest assumptions about what's possible for you. This is inner work measured in months, sometimes years. Haanel gave his students 24 weeks of structured practice because he knew the mind doesn't transform on enthusiasm alone. It transforms through repetition, stillness, and the gradual dissolution of inherited beliefs that were never yours to begin with. Your parents' relationship with money lives in your body. The financial stress of your childhood shaped neural grooves that fire automatically every time a bill arrives or an opportunity presents itself. You feel the tightening before you even read the number. That reaction is the old consciousness, the one running the show beneath your affirmations. Haanel's system targets that layer. The sitting practice, the concentration exercises, the progressive visualization, all of it is designed to reach beneath the surface mind and install a new operating pattern at the level where belief actually lives. There's a passage in Lesson 11 that crystallizes the entire teaching. Haanel writes that the man who can concentrate upon a thing for a definite length of time has the secret of success. Concentration, in his framework, isn't strain, it's the opposite. It's the relaxed, focused holding of an idea until the mind accepts it as real. And once the mind accepts something as real, it begins to act on it, through inspiration, through shifted perception, through what feels like coincidence, but is actually the rearrangement of circumstance to match the new mental blueprint. You've experienced this rearrangement in small ways already. You decided you wanted something, truly decided with your whole being, and then the path opened. A conversation happened. An email arrived. Someone mentioned exactly the thing you needed at exactly the right moment. These aren't miracles. They're the mechanics of consciousness operating through what Haanel calls the law of attraction, a term he used decades before it entered popular culture, and with far more precision than it's used today. The distinction Haanel draws between wealth and money is the fulcrum of the entire system. Money is a symbol, a tool, a medium of exchange. Wealth is the inner recognition that you are connected to an infinite source, and that this connection is the cause of which money is merely the effect. When you chase the effect while ignoring the cause, you exhaust yourself. You might accumulate money through effort and strategy, but it arrives with anxiety attached, the fear of losing it, the pressure to maintain it, the sense that it could disappear at any moment. That anxiety is the signature of a mind that still locates supply outside itself. The consciousness of supply dissolves that anxiety. When your sense of abundance comes from within, from the recognition that universal mind is the source and your focused thought is the channel, money flows without the desperate quality that usually accompanies it. Haanel compares this to the difference between forcing water through a pipe and simply opening a valve. The water pressure already exists. Your job is to remove the obstruction. So what's the obstruction? Fear, doubt, the inherited belief that resources are scarce and you have to fight for your share, the assumption that wealth belongs to other people, smarter people, luckier people, people born into different circumstances. Every one of these beliefs is a kink in the pipe, and Haanel's 24-week system is, at its core, a methodical process for straightening those kinks one by one. Here's what makes this teaching different from surface-level abundance work. Haanel doesn't promise instant results. He promises a permanent shift in the foundation from which you operate. The early weeks might produce nothing visible. You're sitting in a chair, controlling your thoughts, practicing concentration. It feels disconnected from your bank account, but the connection is total. You are rebuilding the instrument through which supply flows into your experience. A poorly tuned instrument produces distorted sound no matter how beautiful the music. It's why I've started retuning my playlists to 432 Hz through Attune, link in the description. And your consciousness is that instrument, the one that has to be calibrated before anything flowing through it can land clearly. One of Haanel's students reportedly built a business empire using only the principles from the course. Whether that story is perfectly documented matters less than the principle it illustrates. When consciousness shifts first, action becomes effortless. You stop forcing outcomes, you start recognizing opportunities that were always there, but invisible to a mind clouded by scarcity. The change in external circumstance feels dramatic to everyone watching. To you, it feels inevitable, because the inner shift happened long before the outer one. Your practice begins tonight. Sit for 15 minutes in silence. Hold one thought. I am connected to an infinite source of supply. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently return. When doubt surfaces, and it will, notice it without engaging. The doubt is the old consciousness making noise as it loses its grip. Every time you return to the thought, you strengthen the new pattern. Every session builds on the last. The consciousness of supply isn't something you acquire in a flash of insight. It's something you grow, the way a tree grows, silently, persistently, one ring at a time. The wealth was never in the money. The money was always in the wealth, the inner wealth, the settled knowing, the consciousness that Haanel spent 24 chapters teaching you to hold. Start holding it now. The valve is already in your hands.